Atheism is a funny thing. Now, for those of us who believe that God exists, I believe that there is a God in heaven. We know that he is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, full of glory and majesty, but he's full of power. We've all heard of the power of God.
Sure, we've all heard of it, yet not a single person on this earth has ever witnessed even the simplest display of power in communicating said supposed existence. All we've observed are assertions about some entity with no actual evidence supplied by them or those who proclaim their apparent existence. Meanwhile, knowledge refers to that which can be demonstrated, else it simply becomes faith. To quote a much better person than I, no matter how positively you think you know it, if you can't show it, then you don't know it, and you shouldn't say that you do. Now, in all honesty, I'm gonna hazard a guess in that you know nothing about your supposed God, just like every other apologist I have ever encountered in my years to work. But what the hell, there's only one way to find out.
Now, take Satan for an example. Take his demons. We have the rulers of darkness. They fill the nooks and crannies of this world with evil works and devices. He is the one who supposedly, well, not supposedly, but beguiled Eve in the garden.
It can't bode well for me in that you couldn't even be bothered to do a retake of a 5-minute video to avoid publishing a Freudian slip.
Had his henchmen, his demons, fill a man with a legion of demons. And in Mark chapter 16, Mary was possessed with demons.
Quick question. If demons exist and possess people, how do you know that the Bible is not the work of such demons playing both sides of the field, and you yourself are not simply possessed? Also, if your God does actually exist and is indeed all-powerful, why then does said God allow demons to destroy said creation? Why create the possibility for evil as such? And we're not on about some slight unkindness or the like. I'm on about things such as genocide, rape, and slavery. Why does this need to be a part of our universe? Isn't it Matthew chapter 10 verses 29 through 31 which teaches us that not a single sparrow can fall from the sky without the knowledge and will of God? Therefore, how can you deem the demons or people who, according to the Bible, are all under God's control as anything besides divine slavery? Do you see what happens when you box your God in as all-knowing and all-powerful? The conclusions are a little distasteful.
Now, take them for example. The ones who are responsible for the darkness of this world, James chapter 2 verse 19 says that the devils also believe and tremble. So if we got Satan and his henchmen who believe, what status and level does that put an atheist? Well, the Bible says that a fool has said in his heart, there is no God. So an atheist isn't someone who's a demon or a devil, or necessarily someone who's evil. They may say evil things, but they're a fool, because they've said in their heart, there is no God.
Yes, we've heard it before, and the reason this is because a smart person says it out loud before pointing to your absolute lack of evidence in support of the existence of such a mythic character. Of course, your Bible will label those who reject its claims as foolish. That's the first trick of any con. if you label any dissent of your con as foolish or mean, then those who are tricked by said con are likely to ignore said dissent. When Christians act all smug about the fact that their holy text says this, as with nearly every other con book out there, all I can think of is the following. A con person doesn't write a confession into their con if they hope for said con to succeed. It's a pretty basic principle. If you're going to lie to try and fool someone, then don't admit to the fact that you are lying. The true fool is the one who fails to realize this basic fact.
Now, why does someone fall into that device of believing in doctrine that God, in no way, shape, form, or fashion, exists?
Well, I highly doubt that you'll be able to give a decent answer, as you don't even seem to have a basic understanding of what so-called atheism, i.e. the shared quality between atheist, actually is. It's not a doctrine, it's not a belief, it's not an assertion about reality. All atheism can be said to be is the suspension of theistic belief following the failure of all theists to supply any evidence in support of their assertions that there is in fact a God. So don't lie.
Well, here's the reason why. Because Satan, of all people, and his henchmen experienced one thing, and that was the power of God. You see, Satan and his henchmen were present when God healed the lame man. They were present and around when God healed the lame man or the blind man also. And they were present when Christ was on the cross. But they also were present, and I'm sure aware, of the resurrection of Christ. You see, God hath raised him from the dead. The power of God. You see, Satan doesn't want you to experience the power of God. You see, the power of God, like I said earlier, healed the lame man and blind man, and the power of God rose Christ from the dead.
And your evidence in support of this claim is what exactly? You don't merely get to assert X, Y, and Z occurred, and then invoke further mythical beings as so-called evidence for said claims. I could do the same in saying that Santa Claus really exists, and we know this because the Easter Bunny hates the jolly bastard and has set to spread vicious rumours about their non-existence. The power of Claus is that he can visit every house in a single night during Christmas. The power of Claus is that he can fit down the smallest of chimneys. The power of Claus is that he doesn't die of liver problems each year or drive his sled into the side of a house. Just because I'm raising my voice doesn't make this any more convincing, so why the hell are you doing it? Also, why has God stopped healing the sick and performing other such miracles? Isn't that somewhat unfair in that previous generations got to observe the power of God personally, as you put it, whilst we only get unverified stories? Is God suffering some sort of mana drain and is thus failing to perform? If he doesn't know, blue always correlates with mana in fantasy, so maybe he should try some blue pills to aid in the miracle department, so to speak.
So what is the power of God? Paul says it best. In the book of Romans, he says, I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is to them the power who believe. For the gospel is the power to them who believe. You see, the reason why Satan doesn't want you or what doesn't want a person to believe in the existence of God, is because that power will change their life. And Satan is trying to gather as many people as he can to take them to hell. He's trying to gather an army. He doesn't want people to experience that power, so he plants this little seed in their head, knowing good and well that God exists, to tell them that God doesn't exist.
Well, you say that, but really you're just talking total bollocks. I am an ex-Christian. I have read the entire Bible, so not just the Gospels, but the entire thing, cover to cover, 3 separate times, once as a believer, twice since. The same is true for many of the most outspoken atheists when it comes to Christianity, as they are very often the ones who studied hard to become good Christians, who found out the true contents of the Bible and could not reconcile them with reality. But the fact is, Christianity does nothing for you, and neither do the Gospels. Everything you believe you have gained through them is simply the result of your own fragile mind attempting to reassure itself. Every warm feeling, every tick of pride, every moment of apparent certainty is all in your head, and if you were open to critically assessing the Bible, you'd realize that fact. So I'm still waiting for you to discuss the reason why atheists exist, as you certainly haven't done so far.
He places doubt where there's fact. He places discouragement where there can be faith. I'll leave you with this. I would rather live my life as though God does exist, to later find out he doesn't, than to live my life as though he doesn't exist, to later find out he does.
And there you have it, people. Why Christians are Christian. It's not because of the factual nature of the Bible, which isn't actually a thing. It's not because they've studied the universe and come to a scientifically supported position. It's not because of the application of any form of valid philosophy. It all boils down to, I wish, therefore I believe. As what seemed to be a hinting of Pascal's wager, I haven't actually responded to Pascal's wager in such a long time, I may as well do so here. Pascal's wager states that belief is preferable to non-belief, as if you believe, die and find out there is no God, you've lost nothing, whilst if you disbelieve, die and find out there is a God, you'll go to hell. So returning to video, we have my 5 reasons this threat posing as an argument is completely asinine. Point 1. If God doesn't exist and I spent my entire life worshipping them, I have lost a great deal. Pascal's wager assumes zero loss rather unfairly, forgetting that people spend a great deal of time and money on practicing religion. If that religion turns out to not be true, then they have lost out on a lot of experiences they could have been pursuing if they'd not been lied to in the first place. Point 2. If you pick the wrong God, you risk greater torture. Pascal's wager assumes only one God of the thousands of gods which exist today, and millions which have ever existed, are the true God. That one always correlating with the theist's own belief. But this is not an actual guarantee. Who's to say that you won't stand before the God of Islam? In that situation, I as an atheist can respond with, you didn't supply sufficient evidence to gain my belief. Meanwhile, you, as a theist who accepted something on faith, have no such excuse. You simply gambled on the wrong horse. Point 3. If God was apparently all-knowing as you believe, wouldn't he know that the sole reason I said I believe was in case of torture? And by I said I believed, I meant to highlight the fact that I can't force myself to believe in something, only pretend I believe it. Point 4. Hell is by definition no worse than heaven. Heaven is merely an existence of eternal worship, to be stripped of who you are through slavery to some divine dictator, as all you can remember is endless servitude. Sure, I'll be tortured until all I can remember is pain, but at least I won't be furthering the ego of our torturer, as we both end up the same, suffering. Point 5. If God is truly all-knowing, then they can see into my mind and assess the reasons for my absence of belief, see that they were justified, and if they were all-loving or all-just, they would understand my views and would not torture me nor anyone else for disbelief. Therefore, Pascal's wager is left a ruined husk, just like with the rest of your video. There are a few things which I'd just like to add here at the end of this video. The first is a massive thank you to everyone who has ever donated to me via Patreon. Your fantastic support has given me the ability to keep this channel going, and I hope to continue producing content in the years to come. Secondly, I would like to thank anyone who has ever interacted with this channel. Your shares, likes and dislikes, as well as your comments of both approval and disapproval, have ensured constant feedback, allowing me to improve my work. Last of all, I would like to express my desire that you treat any of the people displayed throughout the video with respect. Whilst it is true that ideas do not demand respect, and there are many in fact which deserve reprehension, we must be careful on how we tackle said ideas in ensuring we are not simply targeting the person. In short, be the compassionate side of reason. So take care, and I'll see you next time.